Welcome to the series of lecture on finite element analysis. In this part, we are going to take one example problem in beams. In earlier part, we derived the element characteristic equation for the beam problem. For solving the beam problem, we are going to use one-dimensional line element with 2 degrees of freedom at each node. Why we are using 2 degrees of freedom for this beam problem means if you want to completely define the displacement at any particular point along the length of the beam, we need two parameters. One is the transverse deflection y of x and another one is the slope. Slope is a first order derivative of the transverse deflection. By using this theta and this y, we are able to completely define the beam problem. So that is why for the beam problem, we are using 2 degree of freedom at each node. Total degree of freedom for a beam element going to be 4. So at each node, we have 2 degrees of freedom w and theta like this. So total degree of freedom of beam element is 4. So our element stiffness matrix size will be 4 by 4. So this is the element characteristic equation we derived in the last part. The general form is K stiffness matrix multiplied with the displacement matrix U. Then in the right hand side we have the force matrix. For beam problem, stiffness matrix size will be 4 by 4 because for one beam element we have total degree of freedom as 4. That is why we are getting 4 by 4 matrix. So it is a square and a symmetrical matrix. So the degrees of freedoms are W1 theta 1, W2 theta 2 like this. In the force matrix we have two parts. One is the UDL part F0 L by 2. Here F0 is the load intensity, and in the second part we have the external force and the moment, any force and moment acting at the particular node that we have to consider in this second part. Now using this element characteristic equation, how to solve a practical problem, that we will see through one example. First we will take up this fixed beam example problem. For the beam shown in figure, determine the displacement and the slope at the load acting point. Also find the reaction forces and the moments at the supports. Material properties are given. Young's modulus E is 210 gigapascal. Then area moment of inertia for the cross section of the beam is 4 into 10 to the power 6 millimeter power 4. Here you have to note down this unit. It is millimeter power 4. Here we are getting gigapascal, which is Newton per meter square. Now when you see the given beam, both ends are fixed. It is a fixed beam and a point load is acting in between the supports. So the load acting point is defined from the left support. It is 3 meter away. The 10 kilonewton point load is acting at the middle of this fixed beam. At the same point we have an external moment also 20 kilonewton meter. It is a counterclockwise moment. We have to consider both this external force as well as the external moment to solve this problem. So we have to find the displacement and the slope at this load acting point. So actually when the beam is deflecting, the deflection going to be like this. So because this fixed end, the displacement and the slope both will be 0 at these supports, and here we will get the maximum displacement because it is acting at the middle. So you will get the maximum displacement, and we have to find what will be the displacement and the slope at this point. We will use the finite element method to solve this problem. First we have to make a finite element model for the given beam problem. For making the finite element model, we have to use this thumb rule, already we discussed in the earlier part. We have to introduce a node wherever there is change in geometry, material property and the boundaries and the load application point. These things you have to remember whenever we make a finite element model. It is a fixed beam. Throughout the length, area of cross section is uniform. So no change in geometry. In the left end there is a support. So we have to introduce a node for this support, node 1. Similarly right end we have a support. So node is introduced for this two boundaries 1 and 3. At the center we have the load acting point. So for that we are introducing a node 2. So no, there is no change in geometry, change in material property. We are introducing only node at a load acting point. At node 2, we have external load 10 kilonewton as well as external moment 20 kilonewton meter. We have to define the boundary conditions for this finite element model. At node 1, since it is a supported end, fixed supported end, displacement 0, W1 0, slope 0, theta 1 is 0. So we will get the force component will be a reaction force R1 and moment will be a reaction moment. So we are denoting MR1. At node 2, we have W2 displacement, unknown displacement, and theta 2 an unknown slope. We have to find it out. And F2 10 kilonewton, so 10 into 10 power 3 Newton, and M2 20 kilonewton meter, 20 into 10 power 3 Newton meter. Here both the external forces and the moments are considered as positive for easy understanding purpose. So the vertically downward force is considered as positive and the counterclockwise moment is considered as positive. That sign convention we are going to follow. And at node 3, this is also fixed end. So displacement 0, slope 0. We have reaction force and a reaction moment. With these boundary conditions, we have to define the element characteristic equation for element 1 and element 2 first. Then we have to assemble it to form a global characteristic equation. The element characteristic equation first for element 1. So for element 1, here the element 1 is shown here. So we have node 1 and node 2 with the degrees of freedom W1, theta 1, W2 and theta 2. Length of the element is 3 meter. Now, what is the element characteristic equation for a beam? It is EI by L cube. So here element 1, so E1 I1 by L1 cube. Here 12 6L1 minus 12 6L1 like that. So suffix 1 is used for element 1. And the degrees of freedom W1 theta 1, W2 theta 2. Right hand side we have F1 M1, F2 M2 for node 1 and node 2 forces and moment. This EI by L cube value is calculated separately. When you substitute this E value and I value, so I value and E value you have to see the units carefully. 210 gigapascal, so 210 into 10 to the power 9. So this is Newton per meter square, but I value is given 4 into 10 to the power 6 mm power 4. To convert that mm power 4 into meter power 4, we are multiplying with a 10 to the power minus 12. Here L is 3 meters, so 3 to the power 3. This value we are getting 31,111.111 Newton per meter. Substituting this L1 value, then we will get the element characteristic equation 1. When we substitute the force value, F1 going to be R1, M1 going to be MR1. The F2 M2, these are the external forces and moment which are acting at the common node, because this node 2 is common node for element 1 and element 2. Whatever the load acting at this common node should be equally shared by the elements. So at element 1, when you write the equation, F2 going to be the external load divided by 2. Similarly, M2 external moment divided by 2. So like that we have to write the element characteristic equation. Let us see the equation. So here EI by L cube value, this one, and 12, here 6L, that is L1 value is 3. So we are multiplying this one, and after multiplying all these L1 values, we are getting the matrix like this, and these are the degrees of freedom for element 1. And here right hand side reaction 1, moment reaction 10 kilonewton is divided by 2. So 5 into 10 power 3 Newton. 20 kilonewton meter is divided by 2. 10 into 10 power 3 Newton meter. This is the element characteristic equation for element 1. Similarly, we have to derive the element characteristic equation for the element 2. So this is element 2. The length is also 3 meter. The degrees of here, this is node 2, this is node 3. So degrees of freedom are W2 theta 2, W3 theta 3, and EI by L cube. this value is similar to the element 1, so we are using the same value because there is no change in the Young's modulus and the moment of inertia and length of the element, so you will get the same value here also. E2 I2 L2 cube also same value, and L2 value is also 3. So here also you don't have any change. So degrees of freedom here is changing, W2 theta 2, W3 theta 3. Here F2 M2 R3 MR3 reaction force, reaction moment. So here also this F2 M2 will be half of the external force and the external moment we have to substitute. This is the EI by L cube value. The same matrix here we will get the 12 18 minus 12 18 because L1 and L2 are same. Only difference is the degrees of freedom will be different. And here also we are getting F2 value 5 into 10 power 3 Newton, M2 value 10 into 10 power 3 Newton meter, then reaction force, reaction moment. So this is the element characteristic equation for element 2. After knowing these two element characteristic equation, we have to assemble it to form the global characteristic equation, then only we can solve the problem. So how to form the global characteristic equation? We have discussed this procedure earlier also. Here once again we will see the procedure. When you want to assemble the element characteristic equation, we have to add the common degree of freedom carefully. So in this case, to understand the common degree of freedom, numbers are given for each row and column. 1 2 3 4. 1 is for the degree of freedom W1, 2 is for theta 1, 3 is for W2, 4 is for theta 2. For element equation 1, we have W1 theta 1, W2 theta 2. Here also the column we are using the same numbering. When you come to the element equation 2, here also we have W2 theta 2 as a common degree of freedom, then W3 theta 3. Common degree of freedom element should be added properly to form the global characteristic equation. For that you can use the number. So the global characteristic equation, the stiffness matrix size is going to be 6 by 6 matrix because we have two elements, 3 node. At each node we have 2 degree of freedom, so total degree of freedom is 6. Global stiffness matrix size is going to be 6 by 6. For forming the 6 by 6 matrix, we can use this numbering 1 2 3 4 and 3 4 5 6. This numbering can be used to form the global characteristic equation. For example, this 1 1 element will be 12. Global characteristic equation we will write 12 like that. Similarly, if you take this fifth row, fifth element, this is 12. Like that we can form the global characteristic equation using this number. Here this is the global characteristic equation. These are the number 1 2 3 4 5 6. Here also we used this row number. This is the common elements for degrees of freedom W2 and theta 2. The elements in this common degree of freedom added here, you see 12 plus 12 24, minus 18 plus 18 0. So here minus 18 plus 18 0, 36 plus 36 72. That is why we are getting like this. Similarly in the right hand side also we have to add the forces and moment for this common degree of freedom. Here 5 into 10 power 3, again this is 5 into 10 power 3, we are adding these two. Then 10 into 10 power 3, 10 into 10 power 3 Newton meter, that will be added as 20 into 10 power 3. We have to carefully form this global characteristic equation, then only we will get the correct answer for this problem. For forming the global characteristic equation, we can use this numbering. Now we have to apply the boundary conditions to solve the problem. Let us see. What are the boundary condition? At node 1, this is a fixed end, so W10 theta 10. So that means we can eliminate the row 1 column 1 which is for W1 and row 2 column 2 for degree of freedom theta 1. So here I am showing this one, row 1 and column 1, this is for the W1. Then row 2 and column 2 we are eliminating for theta 1. At node 3 also fixed end, so W30 theta 30. So eliminating row 5 column 5 for W3, row 6 column 6 for theta 3. Row 5 column 5, row 6 column 6. After eliminating, we will get this 2 by 2 matrix and this 2 degree of freedom, and the right hand side we will get only this one. So we can eliminate all these. The 2 by 2 matrix we can easily solve it by using calculator. So only after applying the boundary condition we are able to solve any problem. The remaining is a 2 by 2 matrix, 3.11 10 to the power 4 24 0 0 72 W2 theta 2. Here right hand side we have external force and the moment. So we can easily solve this using calculator. W2 value is 0.0134 meter because we used meter as the unit. So 0.0134 in terms of mm it is 13.4 mm deflection. Slope theta 2 it is 0.00893 radians. So it is very small value because it is at the midspan of the beam. So the slope will be actually very small value and the negligible value. So that is why we are getting very small value 0.00893 radian. Here unit is radians. After obtaining this solution, this is called a direct solution in finite element method. Using this direct solution, we can find out the derived solution or post processing. So we will find the reaction force and the moment. In this step, we are evaluating the reaction forces and the moment. For finding the reaction force, we have to use the global characteristic equation only. In the global characteristic equation, R1 is the reaction force. R1, to find this we have to take this first row and multiply with this degree of freedom, you will get the R1. Similarly, if you want to find MR1, we have to take the second row, then multiply with this displacement vector, we will get MR1. Similarly, if you want to find R3, we have to take this fifth row, multiply with this displacement vector, we will get R3. For MR3, we have to take the sixth row, then multiply with this displacement vector, we will get the MR3. So using this global characteristic equation, we are going to derive the reaction forces and the reaction moment. This is the first one. We are finding the reaction R1. For that, we are considering the first row in the global characteristic equation. 3.11 into 10 power 4 is common. Then minus 12, 18, W2 theta 2. Because W1 theta 1, W2, W3 theta 3 are 0. So we will get only W2 and theta 2, which is equal to R1. So multiply this minus 12 W2 plus 18 theta 2. Minus 12 W2, 18 theta 2, which is equal to R1. After simplifying this, we are getting R1 value as minus 1.867 Newton. Very small value. So negative sign indicates that assumed direction is wrong. It is acting opposite to the assumed direction. For reaction moment MR1, we are considering the second row, that is a theta degree of freedom row. Considering the second row in the global quadratic equation, we are getting MR1. So 3.11 10 to the power 4. So minus 18, 18 W2 theta 2 MR1. Substituting the W2 value, theta 2 value, we are getting the reaction moment MR1. That means reaction moment at support 1 minus 2503.11 Newton meter. So minus sign indicates it is acting opposite to the assumed direction. So it is a clockwise moment. Similarly, we can evaluate R3. For reaction R3, we have to consider the fifth row, W3 row. So 3.11 into 10 power 4 minus 12 minus 18 W2 theta 2 R3. How we are getting minus 12 and minus 18? Take this one. This row we are considering minus 12 into W2 minus 18 into theta 2, which is equal to R3. That is what we are getting. W2 theta 2. Substituting the W2 value, theta 2 value, we are getting R3 value as equal to minus 10,003.11 Newton. This is minus, again indicates assumed direction is wrong, because initially we assumed all the reaction forces positive. We are getting negative sign, that means we have to change the direction of the reaction forces. Coming to the reaction moment at node 3. we have to consider the sixth row for MR3, 3.111 into 10 to the power 4, 18, 18, W2 theta 2 equal to MR3. Substitute this value, W2 value, theta 2 value. MR3 value is coming around 12,504.35 Newton meter. It is coming positive, that means counterclockwise moment. At right hand support, that is node 3, we have reaction moment, positive reaction moment. Now, using these reaction forces and reaction moment, we can verify our answer what we calculated through FEM, that is W2 and the theta 2. For that, we have to find the sum of the reaction forces and the sum of the external forces. So when you add this R1 and R3, the sum of the reaction forces, here R1 is coming around minus 1.867 and R3 is minus 10,003.11. So when you add both these things, it is coming around minus 10,005 Newton, which is approximately equal to 10 kilonewton, which is acting at the midspan, right, that we have discussed. So we assumed a vertically downward force as the positive, so that is why we are getting a negative sign here, reaction force, which is equal and opposite. So we can verify that. Similarly, we can check for moment also. Sum of the reaction moment MR1 plus MR3, so this is coming around 10,001.24 Newton meter. Here you see 12,504.35, here minus 2,503. So when you add these two, it is coming around 10,001.24 Newton meter, which is approximately equal to 10 kilonewton meter, because it is positive, so counterclockwise direction. Now we have to find the external moment acting on the beam. If we want to find the external moment acting, we have to take moment about any one support. Let us say this left end, we are taking moment due to this external load 10 kilonewton is acting in this direction clockwise. So this is the counterclockwise moment. So 10 into 3 is 30, right? So 30 with respect to this point, and this is plus 20. So minus 30 plus 20 will get minus 10 kilonewton meter. That is the external moment acting on the beam. That is what calculated here. Minus 10 into 3, right, clockwise moment. This is the positive moment acting. We are getting minus 10 kilonewton meter as the external moment. Then the reaction moment is the opposite to that one, 10 kilonewton meter, which is equal and opposite. So in this way we can verify the values calculated by finite element method. So in this problem we have taken one fixed beam with point load and moment. In the next part we will see one beam with UDL. Thank you for your passion listening.